Welcome to the AgriMinds podcast. If you're in agriculture and feeling the weight of responsibility, juggling work, family, and everything in between, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Casey Bull, coach, speaker, and founder of AgriMinds. Each week, we'll talk about the real side of leadership, how to think clearly, manage your time, set boundaries, and show up with intention, both at home and in the field. Let's get into today's episode.
What if I told you that I had the formula that would perfectly balance out your career and your personal life evenly? Would you want it? Well, I don't have it. But even if I did, I wouldn't share it with you. And here's why. Balancing the two equally is unrealistic, and it's a recipe for disaster. The other day, a friend sent me a reel on Instagram of a guy who said, work-life balance is a luxury that mediocre people always choose. He goes off on this huge rant about how a single mom of 3 working several jobs is not balanced. The guy who's trying to build a company and working 80 hours a week doesn't have balance, but they're important because they need to get done. And he's just ranting, and he's so angry about this topic. And then he goes to say that somehow we as a collective have been convinced that balance is the goal. I'm going to be honest with you when I say that video definitely triggered me. And I don't know if it was because he was just mad and I felt like he was screaming at me and wagging his finger in my face. But I also felt a little I had to be defensive in the fact, because I talk about work-life balance a lot. It's something that my entire career stemmed from, was my conversations around work-life balance. And I understand when there are people who say, I think work-life balance is a myth. I don't believe that there is such thing as work-life balance. I hear you loud and clear, but that's exactly why I talk about it. Because I think a lot of people have been misled around what work-life balance means or what it could mean, and the expectations and the reality around all of it. And I disagree that it's a luxury that mediocre people choose. I feel like I do have a pretty good work-life balance, would not call myself mediocre, and I definitely wouldn't say it's a luxury. I would say it's something I've worked very hard and very intentionally around. And I do feel like maybe it's something that a lot of people don't get in their lifetime. However, it's not my fault that you don't have work-life balance. So I'm not saying that it's a luxury or that it's something that I'm privileged to have, because I could definitely not have it. I could definitely choose to not have what I have right now. And so I don't know, that video just really triggered me, and I want to talk about it today. So when I talk about work-life balance, I like to make sure that I'm very clear in saying that a healthy balance does not mean everything's equal. My 2 cents is that I don't believe work and life and the effort that you put into them has to equal out. And I think that is something that a lot of people just have believed, is that work-life balance equals putting equal amounts of time and energy and resources into both things equally, half and half, or 100% here during this time and 100% over here during this time. I disagree with that. I believe a healthy work-life balance is putting the right amount of time and energy and attention into the right things at the right time for the right amount of time. So I don't believe that there's this magic formula to split it evenly, that it's a balance, but it's more so finding a harmony of the way that you earn an income and the way that you live your life outside of earning an income, and finding a way that feels successful to you. And a lot of people have never done the work to actually identify what that looks like for them. I don't think it's cookie cutter. I don't think that it's going to look the same in every season of your life. And I think that if you are showing up intentionally, that you're choosing how you're spending your time and your resources and your energy, you will find more of that harmony than when you did if you didn't intentionally show up in those ways. I also believe that when you are unbalanced or when things are off center or out of whack, you will definitely start to feel burnout, overwhelm, guilt, resentment, all of those negative things that you think of when you hear of work-life balance being off. I think you will definitely feel it in more than one area of your life. However, I think that everyone will experience burnout from time to time. I don't think that anybody is immune to burnout. I don't think that anybody is immune to feeling overwhelmed at different points in their life. I don't think anybody is immune to feeling guilt or resentment or offended or, just off. I think that's information. Those feelings, those experiences are information trying to tell you, hey, here's what this felt like. What do you want to do about it? This didn't feel good to you. This didn't feel like it aligned with how what your values are or what your morals are. And it's kind of like this compass or this roadmap that's saying, hey, you're a little bit off track. And I feel like when you pay attention to those signs, it will help you feel more content or at peace, which is, I think, what most people are striving for. I don't think we need to use the word work-life balance necessarily. I mean, it's a good visual I think a lot of people could use. But I think at the end of the day, most people just want to feel content that what they're doing matters and that they are there for the people that are important to them and that they're doing something that is of value to contribute to society and that they just feel good about it and that they can sleep at night knowing that what they're doing is good and right. I think that's what most of us want anyway. Maybe I'm off here, but I feel like that's what most people want. And if you're feeling that right now, hey, there's hope for you. I truly believe that you can turn things around. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like your work-life balance is off or that you're feeling burnt out or you've got some resentment or whatever the thing is, I truly believe that you can turn things around. I'll share a quick story with you as well, just to kind of like provide context that I understand what this feels like and how to show up more intentionally. I would say probably 10 or so years ago, I was full on corporate ag life, right? Like I was working for some of the biggest names in the agriculture industry. I had moved from a couple different companies, just growing in my career. I was climbing the ladder. I was learning. I was getting promoted. I was doing the thing. And I was freaking loving it. And I would say like I really enjoyed what I was doing. I also really enjoyed the money. I really enjoyed traveling. I really enjoyed challenging my skills and just growing as a professional. In that season of my life, that was perfect. I felt like my work-life balance was balanced. I felt like I had harmony in my life because I was doing things that brought me joy. I went home and visited family when I wanted to. And I mean, I was just living life and I was enjoying things and I was experiencing things that I hadn't before. And then I got pregnant. Hey, real quick before we dive back into the episode, I want to invite you to something that I think every single person in agriculture needs to hear. If you're constantly saying yes when you really want to say no, if you feel guilty for protecting your time and your peace, or if you've ever wondered why setting boundaries feels so impossible, this is for you. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about in the Guilt-Free Boundaries webinar. I'm going to be sharing some tools, resources, and language that you can start using in your everyday conversations, both at home and at work. If that sounds like something that you need, click the link in the show notes for all of the details. Hope to see you there. And being a mom for the first time, not really understanding what a shift in the season of life that I was in really felt like, it was a strange experience. It was a struggle, to be honest with you, because I'd been living for myself and I was doing what I wanted when I wanted to do it. And becoming a mom changed my priorities, but not overnight. And I think that this is something that a lot of moms or parents aren't necessarily sure how to talk about. But my season of life changed. However, I wasn't acting like it. I was still trying to do exactly what I was doing in my life with a kid, and it just wasn't realistic. I was still trying to travel. I was still trying to grow in my career. I was still trying to give more to my professional life, but I wasn't sure how did I distribute the energy, the time, the attention to this other area? I'd never done it before. I didn't know what that looked like. And so it took me a while to realize, like, I'm not giving up who I once was. I'm not sacrificing my job and my career so that way I can be fully present and be what kind of mom I want to be, and vice versa. Just because I stay in my career that I love, that I've worked hard to build and send my kid off to daycare, doesn't mean I'm a bad mom. It just means that I really want to grow in this area. And I think depending on who you are and depending on your morals and your beliefs and maybe your culture or your religion, you may think one way is better than the other. And man, this is a topic that's like, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this probably, but I truly think if you want to go chase your career and not be as present at home, then that's your call. I also think if you want to give up your career and go home, that's okay too. And if you're like the majority of people that I know, you're trying to find the right blend of doing both, that's okay too. I don't believe that there is a right or wrong, black or white. I think there is a gray middle that's somewhat messy, and we don't really know how to navigate it. And I think that's where the whole conversation around work-life balance comes in. It's that you have to like choose, and it's got to be like written in stone. However, there are seasons of life where we're not quite sure what that transition looks like. We can't just go from being full-fledged, like all in our careers, and then one day we deliver a baby and now everything has to change. Like there is a messy middle. There is a season where we're trying to put feelers out there to see, like, is it too much over here? Is it not enough over there? How do we navigate this? How do we have these conversations? And I think that's where a lot of people are right now. The majority of people that I work with, the majority of people I talk to, the majority of people I have in my life are somewhere in between that. And I think that when you sit down to figure out what you want your days to be full of, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? What's important to you? Who is important to you? Then that can kind of be that guide, that steering the ship in the direction that makes more sense for you. But just remember, the ship in the ocean, like, it just can't turn on a dime. It does take a little bit of time to change the direction. And I think when you give yourself the permission to realize that work-life balance does not equal, and that it's 100% over here or 100% over there, or like if you're giving 80 over here, you've only got 20 to give over here. I don't believe that that's a thing. And also, who the hell is measuring? Who is measuring? Who's keeping track of that anyway? Nobody. We've all got our own stuff. We've all got our own things that we're trying to manage. I don't think that most people are being like, oh, she spent one too many weekends at work than she did with her family. Nobody's tracking that. You should be tracking that based off of what your definition of success is, based off of who's important to you and what's important to you. But at the end of the day, people may have something to say about it, but it's not their life. And I truly want to just zone in on the agriculture industry for a minute on this one, because in agriculture, especially within farming, I'll use row crop farming as an example because that's what I know. But I think this could apply to the sales seasons. I think this could apply to branding seasons, right? Like there is some seasonality that comes with what we do. And again, I'll use row crop farming as an example, right? There are seasons, months out of the year that are go time. We have a very short window to get the thing done that we need to get done. For example, planting, right? there is a small window, both dependent on weather and regulations, the government, that we've got to get certain things done in by. We've got to get the crop in the ground by a certain date. Otherwise, we, have these other things that will have consequences. And so there are seasons where we're going to spend more time in the field or with our coworkers or trying to build our business or whatever than we are our kids. And then there are also going to be seasons where we're spending more time with our kids than we do our friends. Or there's going to be times where we're spending more time with our kids than we do on our professional life. And I don't think any of them are right or wrong. I think it just is what it is. And you get to choose what that looks like for you. Again, I loved working for corporate. I loved my job, but I didn't love it after I had kids because it took away from what I wanted at that time. Maybe one day I'll go back. I doubt it. I'm pretty unemployable at the moment. I really like my flexibility. I really like being home with my kids. I love hanging out with them. But I also love building my business now. I love pouring into my stuff and not somebody else's. And so my perspective has changed. My season of life has changed. My definition of success has changed. And there's not a dang thing wrong with it. Now, on the flip side, my husband and I, if you were to look at our two definitions of success, they look different. And there's nothing wrong with that. I also do believe that depending on whether you're a male or a female, that may look different too. He is perfectly fine with going to work, and he would rather work 3 more hours to earn overtime than to be home all day homeschooling our kids and building a business. That's his preference. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that he doesn't love his kids any less. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want to be with them, but that's just the role that he has chosen. And he's made his decision and he's got his back on it. And that's perfectly fine. And I think you should do the same thing. What do you want more of right now? What do you want less of right now? Who is most important to you right now? What season of life are you in right now? What's your definition of success? And until you answer those questions, somebody else might be defining them for you. And that's something that I never really thought about before, is that if you don't determine what's important to you, if you don't determine your boundaries, if you don't determine what you want your life to look like, you probably will be showing up reactively. And it's not because you're ignorant or, a pushover or whatever. It's probably just because you've never thought about it before. You've never made that decision before. You've never been taught how to show up to life intentionally. And so you've kind of just been taught this is what you should be doing, and you've been going through the motions and you've never questioned it before. And I don't think that that's wrong. I don't think it's bad. It's just, is that what you want to do? John Maxwell has several books around intentional living and just showing up on purpose. And if you've never read any of those before, I would highly encourage you to do it. I've even done a mastermind on, how to have an intentional life and just making sure that you're aware of your decisions. And maybe you change nothing. Maybe you show up to life the exact same way forever, but at least acknowledging oh, here's why I'm doing it and I'm going to keep doing it. Cool. Or acknowledging it, having awareness around it and saying, actually, I want to tweak this one area. And we dive deep into this actually inside of AgriMinds. And we do a wheel of life exercise where we compare our current reality to our desired reality. And maybe we do nothing different, but at least you now have done the work to acknowledge where your time and energy and resources are going. And if you decide you want to make a change, you have a very clear idea of which area needs the tweak. And again, this is going to look different depending on the season of the year, the season of your life, the season of your operation. And there's no right or wrong here. It's just a choice. You get to decide. I'm a big fan of The Matrix. And if you've never seen The Matrix, Go watch it. It's really eye-opening. But I'm a big fan of The Matrix because in one of the scenes in the very first movie, the guy has a red pill and a blue pill, and there's no right or wrong. But he says, like, do you want to stay right here where you are and have the knowledge that you have now? Or do you want to go deeper? Do you want to have more knowledge? And once you take that other pill, the one that's going to give you knowledge, you can't unknow it. It's your choice, though. You get to decide if you want to do the work to figure out where your time and your energy and your resources are going, and if you want to make a tweak. If you want to choose to pour more into the way that you earn an income, do that. If you want to pour more into raising kids and spending time at home and on yourself, do that. Maybe it's a mix of both. Maybe it looks differently depending on the week. Heck, it looks differently depending on the day in my household. Some weeks I have more calls with clients than I do others. And so one week to the next is going to look really different for me. And that's okay. One week I'm spending a lot of time building my business, fine-tuning some stuff, meeting the deadlines that I've set for myself, following up with clients, preparing for a keynote, whatever that looks like. And then other weeks, it's really slow and I don't have anything on the calendar. And that's fine because that's my definition of success, is being able to choose when and how I spend my time, my energy, and my resources. So with all of that being said, I want to leave you with a couple of questions. What's most important to you right now? What do you want more of right now? Who is most important to you? What do you want less of? Starting with those questions will help determine whether or not you feel like you're pouring the right amount of stuff, time, energy, resources into the right things at the right time. I don't believe that there has to be a 50-50 or a black or white or anything like that. It can't be this or that, right or wrong. It just is what you choose it to be. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for being here today. If this episode resonated with you, make sure that you're following the AgriMinds podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, send this their way. These are the conversations that more people in agriculture need to hear. Talk to you next time.